This episode features discussions about mental illness, trauma, self-harm, and discrimination. These topics may be sensitive or triggering for some of our listeners. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Found My Voice, Supporting Youth Welfare, a podcast for young people by young people in Western Sydney. We go beyond the surface to explore issues faced by youth every day. Proudly supported by the Western Sydney Migrant Resource Centre. Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Tamisha. If you are a young person, you'll know that life can feel very heavy sometimes, and it's not always easy to figure out why. In this episode, I'm joined by two amazing guests. Dawood Sajid is a young youth advocate from Southwest Sydney who's going to share his own personal journey of navigating some really tough challenges around identity and belonging. And Paola Alvarez is the Community Engagement Coordinator for Lifeline Macarthur in Western Sydney. With over 20 years of experience supporting young people and communities across the region, we hope this episode helps you feel seen and gives you some real direction on where to go if you need support. Please welcome Dawood and Paola.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you. Okay. Dawood, starting off with you.
Yes.
Can you take us back to when things felt really hard? What was going on for you and how were you feeling?
Okay, things became really difficult when my visa expired and I was facing the possibility of being returned to a situation where I didn't feel safe. As a young LGBTQIA person who came to Australia from a different country and a culture, I was already carrying a lot of fear and uncertainty. At the same time, I was dealing with pressure around a forced marriage and the possibility of losing the life I had built here. Day to day, I felt trapped. I would wake up with anxiety and go to sleep with anxiety. My mind was constantly racing with what if questions about my future. I felt isolated because I didn't know how many people who understood what I was going through. And I was scared of being judged or rejected if I spoke openly about my sexuality and the challenges I was facing. There were days when it felt impossible to see a way forward.
I just wanted to know, was there a moment in time where things shifted for you? And if yes, what made that possible?
Yes, there was a point where everything became overwhelming. I felt like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. I had spent so much time trying to be strong and trying to solve everything on my own that I reached a point where I simply couldn't do it anymore. I remember feeling completely exhausted, emotionally and mentally. That's when I made the decision to reach out for help. Calling Lifeline was one of the most important decisions I have ever made. I was nervous at first, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like someone was listening without judgment. I didn't have to explain or defend who I was. I could just be honest about how scared and overwhelmed I felt.
Mm-hmm. And just one more question. You mentioned that you reached out to Lifeline. From that time period of reaching out to Lifeline up until now, are there any major changes that ended up happening in your life, but on a positive end?
Yes, the biggest thing that helped me was actually connection. Lifeline helped me realize that I wasn't alone.
Mm.
They listened when I needed someone to listen, and they helped connect me with support services, community groups, and safe spaces. For someone who felt completely isolated, that meant everything. I also met people who accepted me for who I am, and being surrounded by people who respected my identity and believed in me gave me hope at a time when I desperately needed it. Slowly, I started rebuild my confidence and believed that I deserve a future where I could live authentically and safely. I wish I would known this sooner. Is that asking for help is actually a strength and not a weakness. Growing up, I thought I had to deal with everything on my own. I thought reaching out meant I had failed somehow. What I learned is that nobody should have to face their hardest moment alone. There are people and services out there that genuinely care and want to help.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on to Paola, I just wanted to ask, so hearing stories like Dawood's, what are the underlying things you most commonly see driving mental health challenges in young people?
Firstly, I'd just like to thank Dawoo for actually bravely sharing his story. His story has been very impactful in knowing that there are stories like his who come through on the other end. And so thank you very much, Dawoo, for being here today. With young people, what we see today and things like that. So it's a combination of things, I think. It's not just one thing that leads to a young person's mental health. Social, economic, environmental, what's happening in day-to-day life can really become impactful. And what we work with at Lifeline is we do crisis support. So a crisis to you and a crisis to me can be very different. So we work with that person at that space in that time so that crisis doesn't develop into a further on and become a full-on mental crisis for them as well, mental health crisis for them and things. So with young people, we see, like I've worked a lot in this field, and working with young people has been an incredible privilege, I have to say, in supporting and working with them and knowing that they can rebuild and knowing that they have come through on the other end. It's supporting and making sure that they've got the support and the safety that they need to overcome what is happening in their time. So a lot of factors can impact that, like you said, what's impacting them. Everyday life, family, relationships can be number one. I feel like number one, young people find that their relationships with friends, even just friends, family, has been a real triggering factor.
Wow, thank you. Just touching point back to young people, I wanted to ask, as a youth worker like yourself who works for an organisation such as Lifeline, when you're working with young people, are there ever points in time where you're shifted back to the younger version of yourself at all?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think there are times, and you try not to actually say, to put yourself in that space because it's about them. I can't say that you don't think about it, because you go back and you think, you want to say to them, I was there, I was you, it's going to be okay. And you can bring that into the conversation when it's right, because I feel that if you don't support that young person in that space at that time, it's not about you, it's about them. So making sure that they feel safe and heard to share what's going on for them. Later on, you can start sort of sharing stories about yourself and things like that. Yeah, but I think there was like not a day that went past where I was like, that was me, I was there, but not voicing it, sort of thing, and sort of like helping that young person sort of shift from that moment into I can, and helping them build that resilience to get through what they're going through.
Oh, thank you. Why do you think it's so hard for young people to reach out when they are struggling?
I think with young people, they have to feel safe in order for them to actually say what's going on for them. And those safe spaces sometimes, don't necessarily provide the environment for them to do that. And for example, the majority of kids go to school every day. Many choose to go to school and many don't have to be there. So that's a safe environment. And I think I worked in the schools, and to create that safe environment, I think yesterday I was at a meeting and it was said that they did an interview. They interviewed kids and they said, who is your safe person? And the majority of them said that they would actually talk to a teacher. So, like our safe spaces create that environment for young people to be able to talk about what's happening, but also we have to be non-judgmental about what's happening and how they are telling us their story, because they are sometimes telling us their story through behaviours and behaviours that we don't necessarily accept as socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, thank you. Now, I'm just going to go back to Dawood. I know we kind of did touch on this before when we started, but just to get in a little bit deeper, when you finally decided to reach out to Lifeline, was it something that felt a little bit hard and uncomfortable for you? Did you find it hard?
So basically, reaching out for help is never easy. It takes a lot of courage. And as someone who came from a different country and different culture, I have always been told that, reaching out is a sign of weakness, specifically for the men, you're supposed to be stronger than others, you're supposed to work on your emotions, you're supposed to, do things on your own, which I did, I did my best, as much as I could. I knew Lifeline existed, when I was living in Southwest Sydney. I knew some services as well, but I have this thing in my mind that I've been told by my home country, that you don't have to share things with other people, and so it took me a lot of time to understand, that this is a point where I actually have to reach out. And the other thing is, the people I was living with talk about the organization like Lifeline. Some people often believe that these organizations are there to make money. These organizations are really not. They just listen to you, and that's all. They can't do much. But when I decided to reach out to Lifeline, I honestly expect that all they're gonna do is just to listen to me. So I gather all the courage, I pick up the phone, I called Lifeline, and then I start talking about my emotions, my story, and my everything. And then after that, what happened, my life changed completely, That's when I realized, what I have been told was completely wrong, And what I've been realized that sometimes you need to trust yourself, You need to trust your guts, And that's what I did, I reached out to Lifeline. The Lifeline not only listened to my story, they also, came to my house the very next day.
That's so nice.
They came to my house, they sat with me, they asked me about each and everything I was going through. That's when I realized I belong to this community, I belong to this country. Because I remember right before reaching out, I thought that these services is only for citizens, and I'm not one of them, and I may not be eligible for that, and that's the one thing that was stopping me reaching out. But I'm glad I did, and then from there, I built my confidence, I built my, my self-esteem, I started working on my life, and I'm very grateful, that I took the courage and called for the help, especially Lifeline.
Oh, that's really good. I just wanted to dive deeper into, because you mentioned your home country and citizenship, just to attach it to our conversation now. If you're okay with answering, I just wanted to know what country are you from, and when did you arrive to Australia?
So I'm from Pakistan. It's a South Asian country. It's a Muslim country. I born there. I brought up there. I knew about my sexuality when I was 11 or 12 years old, but every Muslim country criminalized the LGBTQ communities, and I knew that, I have seen people treated poorly in my country, especially LGBTQ people. So I knew that staying here or coming out is not an option for me. And I can't move out as well because I was too young, and I'm not allowed to travel, until I'm 18. And before that, of course, I need my guardian. And so somehow I holded everything inside me until I turned 18. The moment I turned 18, I talked to my parents, that, I want to go abroad, I want to study, I want to do something with my life, They rejected, but eventually, with the help of my sister, I convinced them. And then I started my process. I started applying to every university I know. And then because I was 18, so I had a high chances of getting the visa approved. So I got accepted in Western Sydney University in Parramatta.
Oh, nice.
In Bachelor's of Business. And I got my visa within 17 days. I still remember I was, I think, 4 or 5 days away turning 18. That's when I got my visa. When I turned 18, I booked my flight. I came here. Even after coming here, I felt, okay, now this is everything now, okay? Now I'm going to be myself. But of course, when I came here, there were a lot of challenges, I was on a student visa. I have a lot of responsibilities, I have to keep up with my study, and I have to look for a part-time job as well to support myself, so a lot was happening. And in the early years, I spent most of my time studying and doing the part-time job. When I graduated,
Oh, you've graduated?
Yes.
How old are you now?
I'm 25.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness!
I did my bachelor's
Wow.
and I did my master's. I'm all good now. And after I graduated, that's when I started exploring myself,
Wow.
And when I started exploring myself, some of my friends find out, and they abandoned me. They abandoned me, and I was living Bankstown with them, They find out about my sexuality, and they were like, okay, that's something, we can't afford to have in our household. So that's when I decided to move out. I came to Southwest Sydney in Liverpool area. I started living there, I built my life there, I built my connection there until the point, when I've been told to leave the country. That's when my life shattered completely. And that's when I reached out to Lifeline.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. Very inspiring. So back to Paola. What does early support actually look like in practice? And what's available to young people in Western Sydney right now?
I think we talk about a lot about early intervention with support. But what does that look like? Sometimes I think our services can be really confusing. Our mental health space can be really confusing for people to sort of like navigate and things like that. So what does that look like, like for a young person? I would, always say, reach out to your most, to a parent first, to someone you trust, in order for that you don't get lost in all of this navigation of where to go to next sort of thing. You can, have conversations with your GP and things like that and move it forward. There are many services that can support a young person with mental health. We've got Headspace and I think Beyond Blue and things like that. There's quite a few. I would say a lot of people and a lot of young people research this too. So we know that prior to young people reaching out, they can do a bit of research, and they have that in their capability where, you know, you've got your phone, you can research and things like that. But in order for it to be successful, I think there needs to be a combination of a lot of things, and that includes like your guardians, your parents, who that person is, your safe people around that, because without it, I think it might not go as well, sort of thing, so that they can support you. You need to have quite a good support network around you. So find that support network, reach out. You know, stories like Dawood reaching out, and, you know, he reached out at just the right time. One of the things that I would actually say is, like, don't be afraid to reach out. Who that person is that you reached out, it might be a teacher, a friend. That person can then support you in your next step. So find that person. And what I do say is that if that person, by somehow or other, that person that you reached out to didn't provide you with the support or the help that you were looking for, don't give up. So there's always someone, you know. Don't go, you know, a lot of people will reach out to someone initially and they don't get the response that they're looking for, and then they go back and don't seek support. And so my advice is to please do not do that. Please go out. There is always someone that's going to support, whether it's a service like Lifeline, who we are anonymous, so we will support you and guide you into that support space if you like, or your teachers, your parents, your guardians, family members, friends. So that's how I see that.
Okay, thank you. All right, and just to close now, I'll ask the both of you one final question. I'm going to kind of alter this question. I want to attach it to identity, because I feel like based on our conversations, having confidence in your identity is a big thing, and it's a big thing that a lot of young people still haven't mastered the concept of. And I wanted to ask you, when it comes to advocating yourself and your identity in society, what would you tell young people today who may be struggling?
Looking at myself today, honestly, I'm in a much better place than before. My journey hasn't been easy, and there are still challenges, but I have hope. I have found community. I have become involved in advocacy and sharing my story, because I know how powerful it can be for someone else to hear that they're not alone. To any young person who is struggling right now, especially if you're feeling isolated because of your sexuality, culture, family pressure, visa issue, or anything else, I want you to know that your current situation is not the end of your story. There is help available, there are people who care, and there is a future beyond what you're experiencing today. So I would say keep reaching out, keep asking for support, and don't give up on yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell someone, I'm not okay, because that can be the first step towards changing your life. That single phone call to Lifeline changed mine. So I would suggest you that you should reach out to.
Wow, thank you so much. And Paola, what about you? So it doesn't have to be about identity, but just in general, based on all the experience you have in terms of working with Lifeline and young people, what's one bit of advice you would give young people of today?
I think young people, have the courage to be who you are. You will find your people. You will find that space. Navigate, and everything in life, I'll go from my life, is a learning experience. So take life as a learning experience, and everything that you go through, the good, the bad, the ugly, will always support us in building that resilience into the people that we are meant to be. I look at my life lessons, go back, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't be the person that I am without them. So even through the struggles and through all that, that when you find yourself in those spaces and you find yourself not there, when you come through and you seek support or you find that person, don't give up. Don't give up, because the right person and that right situation is around the corner. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but we get there.
Right. Well, thank you, Paola and Dawood. Just to wrap this off, is there anything any one of you want to say in general to the podcast or to the young people that we have in front of us?
In response to your question, I have something to share. Right before all these crises and struggles, I always wanted to become an actor. This was my passion, but somewhere between the struggles and between the issues, I lost the track of my acting career. So with the help of Lifeline, with the help of the connection I made through Lifeline, I gained the connection towards the acting industry as well. I gained a pathway to my dream as well. So I know every young people have their own dreams. And sometimes between the struggles they are going through, they sacrifice their dreams, just for the better mental health. So I would suggest them. I would tell them that don't give up on your dreams as well. When you reach out, try to work towards your dream as well, because that's what describe you. These struggles or these issues doesn't define you. These are a part of life, and not only young, I think every person faces the same issues, Nobody's life is perfect, So at the end of the day, I want you to achieve your dreams as well. And to reach out, of course, I have my Instagram. It's iDawood1, IDAWOOD1. You can follow me and you can text me there. Thank you.
Yeah, can't follow up on that. I think Dawoo's story is extremely important, and for all listeners out there to know that there is help and that you can reach out, and it's not it's like that hardness that you feel about reaching out. Once you do it, I think the sense of relief that I see from Dawoo's story is there, because you're finally being able to tell your story. Lifeline is absolutely anonymous. So just to let you know that we get calls. You do not reveal who you are. We do not reveal who we are on the other night. So the support that we provide you is completely up to you as well. Also, you can follow Lifeline on social media. We have Lifeline. So I'm from Lifeline Macarthur, Western Sydney. So we service all our 16 LGAs here in Western Sydney and Southwest Sydney, all the way down to Wingecarribee Barrel. And so we're quite a big lifeline. So we're on Facebook. So it's under Macarthur Western Sydney, and Instagram as well. So, and all of our, groups and social like events, outreaches and things like that will pop up through our social media. So yeah, you can connect with us then.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Found My Voice, supporting youth welfare. If this episode brought up anything for you and you require support, please contact Lifeline on 131114 or email giving@lifeline.org.au. You can also call Kids Helpline on 1-800 55 1800 or email counsellor@kidshelp.com.au. This podcast is supported by the Western Sydney Migrant Resource Centre. Visit their website for resources and links mentioned in this episode.